wind, water, fire, heart. By your powers combined, I am Captain Deconverted Man here. Today, we're going to go for the heart. Emotion. Oh yeah. Because reason failed us, that's for sure. So maybe pastor, being a pastor, can attack emotion. I mean, that might be something he's able to do. Maybe.
Tell me how!
The heart, Osborne. First, we attack his heart.
Okay. Well, let's attack the heart. I guess you could say that would be a heart attack.
Father didn't need his mind to be answered. He needed his heart to be assured. And that brings us to the other aspect of answering this question. After first addressing the mind, we're now going to be, as your outline says, addressing the heart. Addressing the heart. What can we offer the restless heart when it's impacted by evil and suffering? As I stand here today, there's a lot of things I don't know. I don't know what any of the people sitting in front of me are thinking right now. I don't know what any of the people sitting in front of me did before you got here. I don't know what any of you are going to do in the next 30 seconds. I don't even know what I'm going to do in the next 30 seconds, truth be told. I'm that unpredictable. I don't know why you did all the things you've done in your life. I don't know what you're going to do in your life. I don't know why I did everything in my life. I don't always know why I'm doing what I'm doing in my life. I could stand.
I don't know what the hell any of this has to do with anything. Get to the point.
In here for hours describing things I don't know and still not exhaust the list. There's a lot of things that I just don't.
I can help. I mean, you don't know logic, that's for sure. And
no. 3.5 pounds of brain is a limited space with limited abilities. And with that minor mass of tissue, I'm going to attempt to understand and critique the workings of an eternal, all-knowing, all-powerful, wise, and sovereign God? I don't think so.
What does that have to do with anything? I thought you were going to address how to help somebody out emotionally. What does God have to do with any of that? If God cared about that person, I would think that God would, at least do the bare minimum that you supposedly were doing. Now, we all know that Pastor's story is made up from last time. He made up a story where there was a homicide and a suicide afterwards. We know that this story is made up because he mentioned that there was a shock outline, and we know that police do not do that. Unless this happened, I don't know, 50 plus years ago. Pastor doesn't seem that old to me, so I don't think that it did. Regardless, after that completely fabricated story, I thought you were going to tell us how to address the heart, but instead you're going off into tangents about how to explain God. If God cared, God would have sat with that person that you made up and cleaned that floor with him. In fact, God would have just cleaned the floor for him and there wouldn't be any mess. Or God could have prevented the whole thing from happening in the first place. If we substituted God for the pastor, and the pastor was in a position to where he could have stopped the person from killing the other person and then killing himself, wouldn't Pastor do that? Now, according to Pastor's made-up story, he had been counseling this person before he went and killed his wife and then himself. So we must conclude that Pastor's a bad counselor. But at any rate, in this fabricated story that Pastor completely fabricated and made up, by the way, he fabricated it. Pastor's a liar. Did I mention that? And this story, if Pastor knew that the guy was going to go shoot his wife and then himself, wouldn't Pastor stop him? Because Pastor cares. So why didn't God do that? Well, pastor says, I can't explain God. That's the answer, is I don't know. The answer is I don't know why God let this happen. I didn't know it was going to happen. I would have stopped it if I could have, but I didn't know that it would have happened. So all I can do is say, I don't know why it happened. But instead of saying, I don't know why it happened, I'll say, I don't know why God let it happen. And that will bring comfort. I don't want...
Let me take a few minutes and speak to you directly from the perspective of a follower of Jesus Christ. At some point, I have to stand back and say, God, I do not have the capacity to understand everything, so I choose to trust you. Well, why, Darin? Why can we trust him? What is it about God that makes him trustworthy when it comes to suffering? That's a fair question.
What makes God trustworthy at all? I mean, God allowed this person, I forget if it was his daughter or his son, I don't know, but at any rate, the person in your story that you made up, God apparently allowed that person to have their son or daughter killed, and then, you know, the other person also killed themselves. God allowed that. Why? We don't know. We just have to trust God. Why would we trust God? Why? It is a good question. Why in the bleep would I trust God at all? God doesn't seem to be willing or able to prevent the bad stuff, or even explain the bad stuff, or even be with me during the bad stuff.
Organizations and religions have all sorts of symbols, don't they? FedEx, for example. In fact, once I show you this, you will never look at the FedEx logo again the same. Just do it from memory here. Fed. Actually, that goes out like that. And then, see, this is all for free. You didn't pay for this. That's the FedEx logo.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that they paid for this course at all? They got ripped off. Unless the course is free, then no, they're still getting ripped off. Their time is valuable. Anyways,
let me fix it.
What's this got to do with anything?
What's unique about the FedEx logo is, I don't know if you see it, but now you'll see it for the rest of your life. There's an arrow right there.
Yeah, I knew that. And yeah,
that's what they're about. They take packages from A to B.
The fuck does this have to do with anything?
It symbolizes what they're all about.
Who cares?
The Jewish faith, of course, is the
wait,
Star of David.
I know where he's going.
A simple star. It's also known as David's shield from Psalm 3:4. God is my shield. The 6 points symbolize north, south, east, west, up, down. God's shield in all directions. Of course, there's the Islam officially doesn't have a logo that's official necessarily, but what's often used is the crescent moon and star. And that's very commonly used as a symbol for Islam.
Okay, I know where he's going. All right, I'm going to predict where he's going. The symbol used in Christianity is a cross. So Christianity is all about suffering. Oh, so God understands what it is to suffer. Yeah? So what? Even if true, that doesn't explain why he lets it happen. Not even a little. So you'd be like, well, you see the little cross here that I have here? Yeah, sure. You know, yeah, your son killed his fiance and then himself, or the guy that was, I don't remember his story now. But anyways, you know, yeah, sure that happened. But see, God, he's all about suffering because of the cross, and And therefore, it's okay because God knows what it is to suffer. Oh, doesn't that make you feel better? No. Because what? Jesus suffered for what? A few hours? Maybe. Oh, he got whipped with the thing that has the rocks on it, and then he had the thing with the thorns stuck on his head, and then he was up there, and then then he finally died. Oh, wow, that's nothing. That's nothing. That is absolutely nothing. Those few hours, whatever that was, I don't know. At most, that not even an hour, maybe 2, maybe less than that. I don't know, more than that. I don't care if it was 12. It could have been a full day. Still nothing, because for the rest of time, in fact, not just the rest of time, for all of time, before there was time, God doesn't experience any of that. Actually, does Jesus experience that all the time? Or how does that? I don't know. The Trinity is weird. Okay, but Jesus experienced that for a finite amount of time. But compare that finite amount of time to what the person in your own story, Pastor, would have to suffer with. That guy's gonna live for years and years, hopefully, afterwards, right? He's not gonna live for a few hours. He's gonna live for a while, and during that, he's gonna keep suffering. He's gonna keep thinking about this event and how terrible that was. It is not comparable to whatever Jesus suffered. It does me and you and nobody any good when they are suffering to say, well, think about all the starving children in Africa. It could be worse. You could be one of them. That doesn't help in your when you are sad, when things have, are really messed up in your life or whatever, to remember that, other people are suffering. Other people have it worse than I do. That doesn't help you feel better. In fact, if it did, that might be a bad thing. If it did make you feel better that other people are also suffering or doing worse, that actually might be a sign that your mental health isn't what it should be, perhaps. I don't know. I'm no psychologist. So, yeah, the symbol of Christianity is a cross, and it's all about suffering. That's what they're about. Therefore, that's going to help people somehow.
The moon stretches across the path of the entire earth, the 5-pointed stars to symbolize the 5 pillars of Islam. Of course, a lot of Eastern philosophy and religions use the yin-yang, which is sort of like this.
Get to the point!
And this one side, the one color. I don't have time to fill it all in. And then the two, that's the yin-yang symbol, representing the harmony of everything, dark, light, good, evil, matter, spirit. These are all symbols of religions, organizations. Think about this. What's the symbol for Christianity?
A cross! Sorry, didn't mean to yell. It's a cross!
A cross.
It's a fucking cross!
An ancient torture device.
Oh, my word. Get to it.
Why is the cross an ancient device which was so brutal that Romans even themselves finally gave up on it? It was so brutal. Why is that?
They didn't really give up on it, but okay, whatever.
Speaking about Jesus, God's Son, who took on human flesh, the Bible says this in Isaiah 50.
I don't care.
He was despised and rejected by men.
So what? Only a few. Like, his followers liked him. Like, who? Again, so what? That's nothing. Jesus barely suffered in his life. Barely. And then after that, he gets to hang out supposedly in paradise. And in fact, he was hanging out in paradise before he became a human. And he gets to hang out in paradise forever after that. And he's God on top of all of that. So him is not comparable to us. I don't get to be God after I'm done being a human. Jesus did. I don't care what Jesus did while he was human. None of that matters because it's a very finite amount of time compared to all of eternity. Jesus gets to go back to being God. I get to go back to still being me. It's not comparable. Anything that Jesus did or suffered through is like nothing for him. Absolute nothing. There was a video quite some time ago, and Jesus stubs his toe. It's like God stubbed his toe for your sins. Yeah, because it would be like that for God. In fact, I don't even think that's going far enough. It would be like stepping on a pebble and having a slight discomfort for like half a millisecond and then completely forgetting that it happened. That's what this would be comparable to. Because God is so infinitely everything, and this moment in time is nothing to that being. Absolutely nothing. It is non-comparable, non-transferable. The reason that the cross was picked as a symbol, who knows? Might have been an X. By the way, they could have had that, but whatever, changed to that, blah, 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 got adopted over time. Crucifix was popular. Not with the Catholic Church, though. They didn't like that. But, whatever. I don't know. Things get popular. What is your point? How does any of this address the emotional pain and suffering that the pretend guy that we're supposed to be sympathetic for is going through? How are you teaching anybody in the audience how to respond to somebody emotionally? Everything you've said is about Jesus suffered. I don't care. It doesn't help me or anyone else when they're suffering. It really doesn't. To just go, but Jesus suffered too. That's not going to make them feel better. That's not good advice. And that's basically all you've said so far. You didn't even really say that. I'm saying it for you. You're kind of alluding to it. This is a crappy apologetic course. My word. Anyways, we're going to keep going through it, though.
He was a man of sorrows and familiar with suffering. Like one from whom men hide their faces, he was despised, and we esteemed him not. This Jesus was arrested under false charges. He was beaten by Roman soldiers. The judge that condemned him to death publicly acknowledged that he actually saw no reason to punish him, but condemned him anyway because he was a coward and the crowd was pressuring him. Jesus was then whipped 39 times. We talked about it.
Which, by the way, doesn't make any coherent sense because the judge, first of all, he wasn't there in that area to be able to do that. Secondly, he's a Roman. How the hell are you going to pressure? That's like, okay. One of the most infamous trials in recent memory that came to mind, O.J. Simpson trial, right? Judge, what was his name? Ito. It's like telling me that enough people could come to the front steps of that courthouse and all cheer for OJ to go to jail, and that would pressure Ito to send him to jail. No. In fact, is there any judge anywhere in any situation that you can think of that if you got a large enough crowd that they could pressure that judge into doing something? You really think that that's possible in our society? Okay. And that's with how powerful the United States is. Now, maybe you'll find a corrupt judge that you could bribe or that you could coerce. Maybe. Okay. But we're talking Rome. We're talking Rome. Rome says, we don't care. We will stomp you flat we're not going to tolerate you. We don't care. We are in charge. We are the state. We have all the power. We'll send in the Roman soldiers. We'll annihilate you. We're not going to bow or kowtow to you. You're going to bow and kowtow to us. Period. End of story. To think that any amount of crowds could pressure a Roman judge to make a decision is beyond ludicrous. But that's what the story requires, in part. It's another reason why this story could not have happened the way that it is said to have happened. Rome couldn't be pressured. You wouldn't have been able to pressure the judge to do something that the judge didn't want to do. Coward or no coward, the judge had plenty of power on his side to summon forth people, guards, the state to come down and rain fire upon you. And if you killed him, if you killed the judge, oh man, then your whole town's fucked. Forget about it. So this is ludicrous, beyond ludicrous. Oh my word. Anyways, that's a tangent. Let's get back to not addressing the heart.
The whip used was called the cat o' nine tails. So on the end of the whip, so this is the leather, this is the handle, and this is the leather. And on the end, they would have, the leather would be frayed, and then embedded into those frayed pieces of leather, they would embed pieces of stone and bone. And so they would grip the back, they grip the body and tear when you pull back. So you whip, it would grip. You pull back, rip
we know.
Entire hunks of flesh out. Often the person didn't even survive the whipping.
Yeah. It was really bad. Ooh.
Organs would be exposed. 39. And it was called the 39. They only do it 39 times because they had calculated that that was the most a human could take without actually dying. So they take it to the edge, but they weren't done yet. He was whipped 39 times. Then he had to carry with a crown of thorns on his head, to carry a portion of his cross through the streets so he could be spat upon and mocked and taunted. And then when he got to the place of crucifixion, they nailed him to the cross, and he hung there 6 hours before he finally died.
Well, none of this so far addresses the emotional needs of the person that you made up in your story so far, but okay. What's interesting is actually... Okay, so the Apostle Paul mentions this practice in 2 Corinthians 11:24. 5 times I received from the Jews the 40 lashes minus 1. I'm not going to do that math, whatever. But then that's the Jewish people. Jesus is supposedly being scourged by the Romans. Why would the Romans follow a Jewish tradition? See, there's a law, Deuteronomy 25:3, that a criminal should not receive more than 40 lashes. So Pastor is lying again. No surprise here. Pastor is lying again of why they decided on 39. It's not because they figured out that was the maximum that the human body could take. No. It's because that was Jewish law. Don't give them 40. Okay, we can do 39 then. Yeah, I guess, but you can't do 40. You can't do more than 40. You got to do less than 40. So 39 at most. That's the Jewish law. Jewish law. Not Roman law. Jewish law. And the reason is just because that's what the law said. Not because they figured out that was anything else. Your pastor is lying again. And he's lying about the Bible this time. Last time he made up a complete story. Now he's just wrong, or he's wrong. He's either lying or he's just wrong about the Bible. Either way, it's not true. Why would the Romans care to do the bare minimum? First of all. Secondly, why would the Romans practice a Jewish custom, a Jewish law, not Roman law? There's no reason. There's nothing to it. 39 isn't in the Bible in reference to Jesus being scourged by the Romans. Doesn't tell you how many lashes. Doesn't say a number. So pastors arbitrarily picking this out of thin air and going, oh, well, it's got to be at least 39. I mean, now that was in the Bible, so why not? Wow. Pastor, can you please get on track and tell us how to address the heart of the imagined person that you made up? And yes, I'm still harping on the fact that he made up that guy and repeating myself. I'm sorry. It's just, I can't get over, I mean, whatever. Okay. Tell us, what does any of this have to do with any of this? Just get to the point.
And that's why we use the cross. Why can we trust God when it comes to suffering? We can trust God when it comes to suffering because, as your outline says, God himself knows what it's like to suffer. That's why. God himself knows what it's like to suffer. Years ago, I came across this sort of a poem. I just want to read it to you. At the end of time, billions of people were scattered on a great plain before God's throne.
This is a
Some
poem?
of the groups near the front talked heatedly, not with cringing shame, but with embittered belligerence. How can God judge us? How can he know about suffering? Snapped a brunette, jerking back a sleeve to reveal a tattooed number from a Nazi concentration camp. We endured terror, beatings, torture, and death. In another group, a man lowered his collar. What about this, he demanded, showing rope burns. Lynched for no crime except being black. We've suffocated in slave ships, been wrenched from loved ones, toiled till only death gave release. Hundreds of such groups were visible across the plain. Each had a complaint against God for the evil and suffering that he had permitted in his world. How lucky God was, they all seemed to agree, able to live in heaven where all is sweetness and light, without any fear or hunger.
I'm going to fast forward through this. I really don't want to. Well, no, yeah, I do want to, actually. I'm sorry. I don't want to have to do it, but I do have to do it because my brain is melting. Jesus suffered. He knows. He knows what it's like to suffer. Nah, come on. But that's nothing. That's nothing. That all the things that the people complained about, and this poem, which has no bearing in reality, because it's not even a very good poem, is it? I mean, you said it's a poem. It doesn't sound like a poem to me. But anyways, who cares about a poem? Why not give us a actual event that really happened or something? Like, this is just bad. Okay. So that you would use this to try to say, well, but God really does understand. Oh, the pain and suffering. Right. I don't need to point to the physical stuff that the people did on earth. Forget about that. I'd be the one to be like, yes, I'd like to direct your attention straight down, apparently. That's hell, right? I'm sure you know about it. And as you can see, those people are suffering right now. And according to my watch, yes, they will be suffering, apparently forever. Do you know what that's like, God? To suffer forever? And I suppose the apologist could be like, well, actually, Jesus is timeless, you see. This is how they talk. Jesus is timeless. And so that means Jesus is always experiencing this pain over and over again, infinitely forever. Ha! And I'm like, wow, so wait, God the Father is allowing that to happen? Well, yes. Okay. So God the Father's an asshole. Well, no, because I mean, this is no, but does he experience it? So God the Father isn't experiencing what the Son experiences, though, right? Well, what about the Holy Spirit? Does it experience what the Father or the Son experience too? Well, the Trinity, you're saying, is and then their head explodes. Trinity is stupid. Anyways, what was I saying? All right. The suffering, the pain. We're gonna fast forward, I guess, because we're not really addressing it. We're talking about some poem. I don't know. I mean, you want a poem? You want an actual poem? Because and why didn't he tell us the name of the poem or the poet that wrote it? I just kind of remember this poem. Okay. Let me focus a moment. Fragments of shattered desire rain down upon me as if glass broken, each morphing into mercury that poisons my very being. Such is my sorrow over this event, this pain, the salt I tasted from my essence, my eyes, they pour forth upon myself. The desire that I have for this to end is fragmented into infinity. Okay, there's a poem. I made it up just now. Is it a good poem? I don't know. You'll have to tell me. That sounds like a poem to me. Now, did it rhyme? No, poems don't know. Poem rhyming is another thing. The whole thing. What? Dang it! Things are falling off of my computer again. Anyway, so there you go. There's a poem about suffering that I just came up with off the top of my head. That's that might connect with somebody that is suffering. It's like, I feel your pain. Give me something, Pastor. Anyways, didn't know I was going to do a poem in the middle of this video thing that I'm doing, but there you go. I'm going to have to go back and write it down for you and maybe brush it up and fix it a bit, because I'm sure I could do better, but whatever.
Hunger or hatred or weeping, forced to endure the trials. So each group sent out a leader, former slave, and others who were ready to present their case. Judge be sentenced to live on earth as a man, be able to use his genuinely legitimate, so radical that it brings upon him the hate. Let him be indicted on false. Let him see and let him be tortured. Let it take place between. As each leader announced his portion of the sentence, after the last one had finished pronouncing sentence, there was a long, no one moved. God had already served his sentence. Suffering. But there's another reason why we can trust God in our pain. As your outline says, it's because God uses temporary pain, or he turns temporary pain into eternal gain. He turns.
Wow, that took a while for him to get through that pointless stuff, didn't it? Temporary pain into eternal gain. As long as you believe the right thing, that is. Otherwise, your pain just turns into more pain. So why is that a thing? And why... I thought before you said that the pain had nothing to do with God, that God couldn't help it, that free will is why pain existed, and that natural stuff made bad things because God made a natural physical world with rules in it. Because God couldn't help but do that, I guess, because there had to be consequences, I suppose. So that's just God's just going, not my fault, not my problem. Sorry, I made a universe where you could get hurt, because that's the rules. Like, you fall down, you're going to get hurt. Sorry, couldn't help but do that. Oh, also, by the way, when you do things that are against what I want you to do, that's going to add more problems into the universe that I made. Not my problem, well, not my fault, I guess. Anyway, so how does it, what?
Turns temporary pain into eternal gain. God promises to never waste a trial, to never waste a tragedy. In God's kingdom, there's no such thing as disposable difficulties. He turns temporary pain into eternal gain. The Apostle Paul, who wrote much of the New Testament, he understood suffering. In fact, he wrote a good chunk, as I say, of the New Testament. He had been whipped, beaten, stoned, chained, shackled, imprisoned, shipwrecked, starved, left for dead on many occasions. And this is what he wrote. This is what he learned through his suffering. I quote from 2 Corinthians 4 in the New Testament. Paul says this.
Oh, my word.
We don't lose heart. I'm not discouraged, he said. Though outwardly we're wasting away, but inwardly we're being renewed day by day. For our light and momentary troubles, they're achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all.
Deconverted man is irritated. Oh yes, deconverted man very angry at pastor now. Okay, so this was all supposed to be teaching us how to address the heart, the emotion of somebody going through suffering, right? So are you telling me through what you've said, because you're not just giving me a direct how to do that sort of answer. Instead, you're talking more about Jesus and his pain and suffering, blah, 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 blah. Are you saying to say to the person that is going through suffering, it's going to be okay. Let's call him Bob. I don't know. Hey, Bob, it's fine. Bob, this pain that you're dealing with right now, it's all right, man. It's going to be okay because in heaven, there won't be pain. Don't worry. All this pain, there's going to be tons of awesomeness. Soon, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be fine, man. Is that really the answer? Is that really how we handle somebody's pain and suffering? So let me picture Bob on a bridge here. Bob's on the edge of a bridge, and he's ready to jump. And he said as much. He said he's going to jump because his life has been nothing but pain and suffering. I'm like, Bob, I have good news. Jesus suffered for you, Bob. Bob's like, who? I'm like, Jesus. You haven't heard of Jesus? No. And then I have to explain Jesus to him. He's like, I don't know about all that. But anyways, Bob, but Jesus, God suffered for you. And this pain is temporary in life. And in paradise, where you'll go if you believe in Jesus, it's all going to be amazing, Bob. And Bob's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, Bob, all you have to do is believe in Jesus. He's like, Bob's like, okay, I believe in Jesus. And then he jumps off the bridge and kills himself because paradise is amazing. Whoops. Oh, maybe this is bad advice. Maybe telling somebody that the afterlife is better than this life is a bad idea if they're about to kill themselves. Wow. Too bad the Bible doesn't explain how to comfort somebody in their pain. The Bible doesn't really say that, just like Pastor isn't really explaining to us how to be there for somebody when they are in pain and suffering. The pastor's really not doing that, is he? It's okay. You'll get something amazing tomorrow. If I said that to you, if you had lost your loved ones, your dog, your cat, your girlfriend, your husband, which you have both of because whatever, I don't know. All the things, you lost them all, and they all just, I don't know, they spontaneously exploded, and you saw it, and you were there, and you're like, what the bleep is that about? And you're like, why deconverted man? And I'm like, well, it's okay. Tomorrow we're throwing you a really awesome party. There's gonna be cake, ice cream. There's gonna be, all sorts of alcoholic drinks and every food, and we're gonna have hot girls and hot boys and hot men and women, and we're gonna have, water slides and amusement rides, and it's gonna be amazing, man. And you'd be like, what the fuck? I don't care. What about now? But tomorrow, man. But tomorrow we're gonna do all this amazing things for you. And then the day after that, we're gonna do more amazing things. It's gonna be amazing. You really think that's gonna help? No. No. Have you ever suffered, Pastor? At all? Like, have you ever been in that situation where you're curled up in the corner of your room, rocking yourself, crying, tears of salt stinging your eyes as you're in the fetal position after losing everything that you hold most dear? Have you been in that spot? And would it matter to you if somebody came up and was like, it's okay, because tomorrow, after you're done with all this crying, we're going to have a fun day. We're going to do all this amazing things. No, that wouldn't help. It wouldn't help even a little. Fuck you, Pastor. Anyways, let's get back to the video, shall we?
So we fix our eyes, not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Why? Because what's seen, that's temporary. What's unseen, what's inside of us, that's eternal. Paul's saying God turns temporary pain into eternal gain. Yeah, outwardly, it looks bad. I'm wasting away. But inwardly, I'm being strengthened and renewed every day in the midst of it all. These light and momentary problems that I'm having right now, they're actually achieving for me a glory that far outweighs those light and momentary troubles. On a scale, what's happening inside of me is far greater than what's happening outside of me. Let's conclude. We began today by outlining the rational grounds for a world that includes the presence of evil and suffering. We learned that...
Wait, that's it? Literally, that's it? That's your advice? That's how to address the heart? I dedicated an entire video to this? Really? Now I'm suffering. It's okay, they comforted me. Why? Because you're gonna go to hell later. What? Yeah. But that's I hate everything about this. Let's finish, though. At least we're at the conclusion. That means I can do the next week sooner than I thought I would. See, there's a light at the end of the tunnel after all. I get to do more of this.
Life is lived on a set stage of existence, predictable laws of cause and effect. We learned that life is all about experiencing the highest possible good, the purest love imaginable. And this love requires the ability to choose. We learned that this ability to choose requires the ability to reject, and that rejection creates the presence of evil, and evil produces suffering. Okay, then. So we've learned that suffering isn't irrational, but there remains an element to suffering in this life that will remain mysterious. But mysterious doesn't mean pointless. Just because I don't understand the reason doesn't mean there isn't a reason. My wife and I have raised 4 children, and I'll never forget my one son, our youngest son, when he was a little kid. He was about 4 or 5, and he fell down. I can't remember what happened, but he got a cut right here, and it needed stitches. So we had to take him to the hospital, and as we're in the hospital, the doctor said, "Mr. Latham, can you hold your son still?" So I'm holding his head still. I'm holding his head like this as the doctor brings this big needle to stick it in his wound. And I'll never forget the look of my son. His eyes are tearing up, his big, beautiful blue eyes looking up at me like, "You are a monster. What are you doing?" He didn't know that I was loving him at that moment. I was.
Oh, this analogy is so stupid and broken. No. Here's the actual scenario. It's not. It's you created the owie that the baby that the kid has. First of all, in the actual scenario, because this is all this is supposed to be a substitute that we're understanding God because we're going, I'm the parent and I'm letting the doctor do this thing that's hurting the kid. The kid doesn't understand. So we're supposed to think, oh, I'm like that kid and God's giving me this needle and I don't understand why, but he's doing it for my own good. No. Because it's actually worse than that. God created the stairs that the kid fell down, and God created the gravity that made the kid be able to fall down the stairs. And then God also created the ability to have pain, because pain tells me that something is wrong. And God also made it that swelling happens for a whole bunch of evolutionary reasons that I won't go into because I don't understand them well enough. I don't know. Stephen knows stuff about science. Maybe he can answer all those questions. What do you mean he's geologist? He didn't know those answers? Wrong scientist? He would know it. He's a scientist. Good enough. Stephen, you'll explain all the biological reasons why we get bumps on our heads when we fall down. You'll do it in the comments below. I trust you. Anyways, so I'm losing my mind. What was I saying? Oh, but then God made, or you made in this case, you made the thing that would that keeps registering pain, even though you know it's a thing. And then you also made it that there has to be a needle, because you could have made it that it would just go ping and be fine. But then you also made a needle, and then you also made it that it was mysterious, and you also did this, and you also did that, and you made a whole damn system. You're insane! You're crazy at this point. Why would you make it this way? It makes no freaking sense. But that's okay. Neither does your God. And just because it doesn't make sense doesn't mean it's not true, but it also isn't true on top of not making sense. Anyways, let's finish this up so I can go to the next lesson video thingy of maybe. And
helping him. But in his little mind, in his big eyes, he couldn't connect the dots. This evening, we addressed the logical or intellectual aspect of suffering.
No, you didn't.
And we also addressed the emotional aspect of suffering.
No, you didn't.
We learned that God isn't heartless and he's not distant from our pain.
Yes, he
we
is.
We learned that God understands our pain. In fact, we learned that God promises to ultimately redeem our pain.
And that doesn't matter.
And with that, I'm finished. And
yeah.
I turn you loose to discuss this topic around your table for a few minutes before we go to the open mics.
Oh my goodness. Thank goodness we're done with that. My pain, my suffering is complete. I'm done with this week 3. Why is there suffering and evil? Pastor doesn't have an answer. That's why. In a universe where we posit a being that is able to do anything, just about, that this being not only is able to do things, but also loves us, but yet, for whatever reason, allows us to hurt. Why? Because, well, I mean, eventually it's going to be fine because he's going to make up with it later. Yeah, sure, he does all these terrible things, but then it's okay because you're given a reward, so that makes up for it. What an asshole. What a psychopathic, insane individual that deity is. I could understand if it was posited as an amoral being, but you didn't. You posit this as a loving being, but it doesn't sound like a loving being at all to me. It could have done it a different way if choice is required. Then make us there with you so we see you all the time in a non-physical world so we don't have to encounter the sort of suffering that we do in a physical world. Give me the choice, the actual choice to accept you or reject you. I don't even know that there is a you in the first place. And I don't know that because you ain't here to me. I do what apologists tell me. I look around and I don't see it. I speak out loud and I hear no response. There's nothing there for me to even establish or hope to establish a relationship with, to then be able to accept or reject, because it is so well hidden that it might as well not exist. The so-called divine hiddenness of this God and all other gods, as far as I can tell, it makes it so that I do not have any choice in the matter of accepting or rejecting whatever relationship they might have to offer, because I don't even know that they are a thing that I can do that with in the first place. In order to obey God, I have to know that there's a God, and I don't. And none of your arguments throughout these weeks has gotten me anywhere close to that. In fact, quite the opposite. All of the logical fallacies that you've produced so far, Pastor, have led me to think that your incompetence is only attributable to the fact that there's no God. That the only way that you could be this stupid and wrong and lie about things, which you've done at least twice, caught you in the lie last time, making up a story about a murder-suicide. Now you're making up a story, and then you reference some poem that doesn't even sound like a decent poem and don't even tell us who wrote it or where. And then you use that to then not explain anything. I forget the other thing you made up. Oh, that's right, the thing in the Bible. That's right. You lied about the Bible stuff, just pure outright, or were wrong about it. That suggests to me that your pure, complete, and utter incompetence and abilities of lying that you are using to gain money in one way or the other. Maybe this class is free, but definitely the church is paying you, so it doesn't, all equals out. That shows that there isn't a God. If there was, he wouldn't need you. He wouldn't need you to tell us that it exists. Or at least this version of God doesn't exist. Maybe some other version of God exists, but this one, nah. This is one hell of an incompetent God that would allow somebody as dumb as you to represent it. Okay, but that's kind of poisoning of the well. Just because Pastor has a fallacious argument doesn't mean that his God doesn't exist. That's true. But it does mean we have to be skeptical of this God. And I'm irritated that Pastor has lied to us twice now. I still plan to talk to him, though, and ask him about these lies. That should be interesting. And since he hasn't watched my videos, he doesn't know that I've called him a liar on multiple occasions. That will be fun, too. Anyone want to bet that he'll rage quit the moment I ask him about the lies? If I get him to talk to me at all, that is. Don't know if I will or not. Anyways, that might be a thing to look forward to. Oh, yeah. I'm supposed to do the next part. I don't want to do the next part, though. I don't want to. You can't make me do the next part. Should I do the next part now? Or should I make you wait and suffer? Yes, that's it. I should make you suffer like I've had to suffer. Wait for an unknown amount of time, because I don't know when I upload these things. I do it on a whim. Maybe it'll be later today. Maybe it will be tomorrow. Maybe it'll be in a month. I don't know. And then you'll wait, and you won't know. And you'll be like, where is it? I need to get for the man to tell me that this guy is wrong. And how wrong is he? I need him. I need him to do the thing that he's not doing it. Please, Deacon Ferdinand, do week 4. Oh, no, week 4 is about other religions. Oh, no. Ah! I'll see you next time. Am I really ending it here? Am I? Oh shit. No, I hit button. No!
Well, hello,
No!
everyone.
No! What have I done? No! 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 Oh, why? What have I done? Ah, I can't take it anymore. Ah, no, stop the button. Hit the button. I want to stop. Hit the button. Oh, my God. No. Anyway, see you next time.